You wake up to the sound of your alarm clock. 6 in the morning, September 24th, 1998, Thursday morning. Another workday in a long sequence of identical mornings stretching back through the years. The radio clicks on automatically, and you hear Casper DeVere's voice on Raccoon City Radio 112.5 FM delivering his usual cheerful morning banter. Traffic on the interstate is light. Weather's going to be partly cloudy with a high of 68. The Raccoon Sharks lost their game last night, but there's always next week. He mentioned something about increased police activity downtown, but his tone is casual, almost dismissive. Nothing to worry about. Just Raccoon City being Raccoon City. You don't know it yet, but you have approximately 48 hours to live. The apartment is small, but it's yours. Studio efficiency on the 8th floor of a building in the Cedar District, one of the less expensive neighborhoods where young professionals and service workers can actually afford rent. The walls are thin enough that you can hear your neighbor's television through the drywall, and sometimes in summer when windows are open you catch fragments of arguments from the units below. But the building is relatively safe. The superintendent keeps things maintained, and from your window you can see a sliver of the circular river if you crane your neck just right. For a city where Umbrella Corporation employs roughly 30% of the workforce and controls even more through subsidiaries and contracts, this place represents a kind of independence. You don't work for Umbrella. You've managed to carve out employment in one of the service sectors that exists in the spaces between the pharmaceutical giant's influence. Maybe you're a server at one of the restaurants downtown. Maybe you work retail at the mall. Maybe you're a delivery driver or a custodian at Raccoon University or a clerk at the post office. The specific job doesn't matter as much as what it represents. You're part of the city's working class, the people who keep Raccoon City functioning while the Umbrella executives in their suits make decisions in boardrooms and laboratories. You pay your taxes. You follow the rules. You're polite to police officers when you see them. You've never been arrested, never caused trouble, never given anyone reason to notice you particularly. You are, in every sense of the word, ordinary, a face in the crowd, a name on a lease agreement, and a social security number in some database. This ordinariness will not save you. You shower and dress for work, moving through the familiar morning routine with the automaticity that comes from repetition. Coffee from the pot you set up last night on a timer. Toast with margarine. You glance at yesterday's newspaper still sitting on the counter, the headline something about budget discussions at City Hall. There's a small article buried on page 3 about increased animal attacks in the Arklay Mountains, but you've been seeing variations of that story for months now. Hikers getting attacked by dogs gone feral. Campers reporting strange sounds in the woods. The kind of thing that happens when people venture into wilderness and forget that nature isn't always picturesque. The STR's team supposedly investigated something up there back in July, a whole incident at some mansion, but details have been sparse and contradictory. Conspiracy theorists on late-night radio talk about cover-ups and secret experiments, but conspiracy theorists always talk about cover-ups and secret experiments. You leave your apartment at 6:45, locking the door behind you with the key that's been sticking lately. The hallway smells like burnt toast and cleaning solution. The elevator takes its time arriving, ancient machinery groaning in the shaft. When you finally step inside, the fluorescent light flickers in a way that's been annoying for weeks, but hasn't quite failed enough for anyone to replace it. You share the ride down with Mrs. Chen from the 5th floor, an elderly woman who always carries too many grocery bags and never accepts help. She nods at you. You nod back. The sum total of your relationship with most of your neighbors. Polite recognition without actual connection. The morning air hits you when you exit the building. September in Raccoon City means the summer heat has finally broken, but winter cold hasn't arrived yet. The temperature is perfect. That brief window where you don't need a jacket, but also don't sweat through your shirt by noon. The streets are relatively quiet at this hour. A few early commuters heading to the Kite Brothers railway station. A jogger moving past in expensive athletic wear. A homeless man sleeping in the doorway of a closed shop, his presence ignored by everyone else as though he's just another piece of urban furniture. You walk to the bus stop 3 blocks from your apartment. The route takes you past a corner store run by a Korean family, a check cashing place with bars on the windows, and a vacant lot where someone keeps fly posting advertisements for bands playing at local venues. The bus shelter has graffiti on one side and a public service announcement about reporting suspicious activity on the other. You wait with 4 other people, none of whom you recognize, none of whom speak to each other. When the bus arrives 12 minutes late, everyone boards in silence, feeds bills into the fare machine or flashes passes, and finds seats spread as far apart as the vehicle's capacity allows. This is normal. This is life in a mid-sized American city in the late 90s. Everyone isolated in their own routines, their own concerns, their own small worlds. The bus driver doesn't greet passengers. The passengers don't greet each other. You all exist in parallel, sharing space without sharing experience. You stare out the window and watch Raccoon City scroll past familiar buildings, familiar streets, the same route you've taken hundreds of times. You know every pothole, every faded traffic sign, every storefront by heart. The bus passes through downtown where the architecture gets nicer and the streets get cleaner. Here's where the money lives and works. Umbrella's headquarters building rises like a monument to pharmaceutical success, all glass and steel and corporate confidence. The logo is visible from blocks away, that distinctive red and white umbrella design that appears on everything from aspirin bottles to the jerseys of the Raccoon Sharks to the signs at Raccoon General Hospital. The company's reach is so comprehensive that it's become invisible, the way oxygen is invisible until suddenly you can't breathe. You get off at your stop and walk the final blocks to work. You pass other people on the sidewalk, dozens of them, hundreds, if you counted everyone you'll encounter today. Each of them has a name, a history, a life as complex and detailed as your own. Each of them has people who love them, problems that keep them awake at night, dreams they're pursuing or have given up on. Each of them believes they'll see tomorrow. Most of them are wrong. Work is work. Whatever your specific job entails, it requires you to be present, to perform tasks, to interact with coworkers and customers or clients or patients. The hours pass with the mixture of boredom and mild stress that characterizes most employment. Your boss is neither particularly good nor particularly terrible. Your coworkers are fine. Some you like more than others. Maybe there's someone you have coffee with during breaks. Maybe there's someone who annoys you with their habit of humming while they work. These small details feel important right now, in this moment, when you're still thinking about performance reviews and weekend plans and whether you'll watch that movie everyone's been talking about. At lunch, you eat something quick and cheap. Maybe a sandwich from the place down the street. Maybe leftovers you brought from home in a plastic container. You check a newspaper someone left in the break room and notice that the animal attack stories have moved from page 3 to page 1. The headline mentions multiple incidents. A woman was reportedly attacked near the Lambs Museum of Art by what witnesses described as a cannibal, though that word is in quotes, and followed by skeptical commentary. Police are investigating. There are quotes from officials urging calm and suggesting the attacks might be related to drug use or mental health crises. Nothing to panic about. Isolated incidents. The city has everything under control. This is what you want to believe, so you believe it. This is what everyone wants to believe. The alternative, that something genuinely dangerous is happening, would require action and change and fear. Much easier to file the information away as concerning but manageable and return to your sandwich. You finish your shift and head home on the same bus route in reverse. The evening commute is more crowded than the morning, bodies pressed together in mutual discomfort. A teenager has a portable CD player turned up too loud, tinny music leaking from their headphones. A businessman reads a thick report, marking it with a pen. A woman bounces a crying infant on her lap, looking exhausted. You're squeezed in near the back, holding onto a handrail as the bus lurches through traffic. You notice more police cars than usual. 3 marked cruisers pass going the opposite direction with their lights on but no sirens. When the bus stops near Raccoon General Hospital, you can see unusual activity. Ambulances coming and going, people in hospital scrubs moving quickly. A news van is parked outside with its satellite dish extended. Something is happening, something big enough to draw media attention. You wonder if it's related to those attack stories. The bus continues. You get off at your stop. You walk back to your apartment building, past the same landmarks, in reverse order. The Korean family store is closing for the day, metal security gate being pulled down. The check cashing place already has its bars locked. The homeless man has moved from the doorway, and in his absence there's just a flattened cardboard box and an empty bottle. You pass a woman walking 3 small dogs, the animals straining at their leashes with frantic energy. She's struggling to control them, cursing under her breath. One of the dogs is barking continuously, a shrill, panicked sound that sets your teeth on edge. Back in your apartment, you heat up dinner. Maybe it's frozen pizza. Maybe it's ramen. Maybe it's Chinese takeout from the place that knows your usual order. You turn on the television and flip through channels. There's a local news broadcast on Channel 4, and the anchor is discussing what she calls a developing situation. Reports of violence in multiple locations around Raccoon City. Police are stretched thin responding to calls. The hospital is overwhelmed with patients showing symptoms of what doctors are struggling to identify: fever, extreme aggression, biting. The anchor's voice maintains professional calm, but you can see tension in her face, something in her eyes that suggests she knows more than she's saying. They cut to footage filmed earlier in the day at the Raccoon Sharks game. The stadium is packed, thousands of spectators in the stands. Everything seems normal until suddenly it's not. A commotion in the crowd, people screaming, security guards rushing toward something. The camera work is shaky, confused, trying to track whatever's happening. You catch a glimpse of someone on the ground with multiple people restraining them. Someone else is bleeding. The image cuts back to the studio before you can process what you saw. The anchor mentions that police have set up roadblocks at several locations. Citizens are advised to stay indoors if possible. If you need to travel, avoid the Oz downtown district. There are reports of water contamination possibly linked to the symptoms people are experiencing. Don't drink tap water without boiling it first. Updates will be provided as information becomes available. You turn off the television. The apartment suddenly feels very quiet. You can hear your neighbor's TV through the wall, an action movie with explosions and dramatic music. You go to your window and look out at the city. Lights are coming on as evening deepens into night. From this high up, everything looks peaceful, orderly. Just another evening in Raccoon City. Cars moving on distant streets. Buildings illuminated against the darkening sky. The sliver of the circular river reflecting streetlights. You don't want to be scared. Fear is exhausting, and your life already has enough stress without adding paranoia. The news always sensationalizes. That's what news does. Makes everything sound urgent and dramatic to keep viewers watching. Probably what's happening is some kind of localized food poisoning outbreak, or maybe a bad batch of drugs got distributed. Medical emergency, not a crisis. The authorities will handle it. That's what authorities are for. You go to bed at your normal time, set your alarm for 6 a.m. Tomorrow is Friday, almost the weekend. You have plans. Nothing special, but plans nonetheless. Maybe you'll see a movie. Maybe you'll do laundry. Maybe you'll call that friend you've been meaning to catch up with. Normal things. Regular life continuing in its regular pattern. Sleep comes eventually, though not easily. Your dreams are restless. Fragments of images that don't quite make sense. Dogs with bloody muzzles. People with vacant eyes. The umbrella logo spinning like a shield that's supposed to protect you, but somehow doesn't. You wake up several times, disoriented, listening to sirens in the distance. Police, ambulances, fire trucks, impossible to tell. The sounds blend into the city's background noise, that constant low-level chaos of urban life that you've learned to tune out. When your alarm goes off Friday morning, September 25th, you feel unrested. Your body is heavy, reluctant, but the alarm is ringing, and that means it's time to get up because that's what you do. That's the routine. 6 a.m. equals wake up, equals shower, equals coffee, equals work. Simple automatic pattern that doesn't require thought. You turn on the radio while you're getting dressed. Casper DeVere isn't on the air. Instead, there's a different voice. A man who sounds tense, reading what is clearly a prepared statement. The CDC has issued containment orders for Raccoon City. All major highways are blocked. The military has established checkpoints. Citizens are strongly urged to remain in their homes. If you must go outside, avoid contact with anyone exhibiting signs of illness, particularly extreme aggression or unusual behavior. The Army and National Guard are working to evacuate civilians from dangerous areas. Proceed to the nearest evacuation point if you're able to travel safely. This is real. This is happening. The detached professional tone of the radio announcer cannot disguise what these words mean. Raccoon City is being quarantined. Something has gone so catastrophically wrong that the federal government has deployed military forces and imposed emergency measures. This isn't sensationalized news. This is official response to a genuine crisis. You look out your window again. The morning sun is rising, but the city below looks different now. There's smoke visible in several locations, dark columns rising into the brightening sky. You can't see street level clearly from 8 floors up, but movement down there seems wrong somehow, chaotic rather than orderly. Even from this distance, you can sense the breakdown of normal patterns. Your phone rings. The landline, not a cell phone because this is 1998 and cell phones are still expensive luxuries for most people. You answer, and it's your mother calling from 2 states away. She saw something on national news about Raccoon City. Is everything okay? Are you safe? You should leave immediately, she says. Get in your car and drive out before they close everything down completely. Her voice has that particular quality of parental fear, the terror that comes from caring about someone you can't physically reach to protect. You tell her you're fine. You tell her it's being handled. You tell her all the things you're supposed to say to reassure someone who's worried. But even as you speak the words, you're not sure you believe them. When you hang up, the apartment feels more isolating than ever. You're alone in a small box 8 floors above ground level, in a city that's becoming something other than what it was 48 hours ago. You turn on the television. Every channel is covering the situation now. either with local news or national news picking up the story. A reporter in a helicopter films aerial footage of Raccoon City. You can see the roadblocks, the military vehicles, the places where fires are burning. You can see crowds of people at what the reporter identifies as an evacuation point, masses of humanity trying to get onto buses and into vehicles that will take them out of the quarantine zone. But you can also see other crowds, groups that move differently, groups that seem to be attacking people. The helicopter stays high enough that details are blurry but implications are clear. The reporter uses the word zombie. She says it hesitantly, apologetically, acknowledging that it sounds absurd. But eyewitness accounts describe people who seem to have died and then reanimated with violent, aggressive behavior. People who attack others with their teeth and hands, who don't respond to pain or verbal commands, who can only be stopped by destruction of the brain or complete physical incapacitation. The reporter is careful to add that these are unconfirmed reports, and authorities haven't officially commented on the nature of the threat, but the word has been spoken. Zombie, the thing that isn't supposed to be real. You need to leave. That much is obvious. Whatever is happening in Raccoon City, you don't want to be here when it gets worse, and it will get worse. That's the trajectory of every disaster. The early phase, where things seem manageable, gives way to the middle phase, where systems break down, gives way to the late phase, where survival becomes the only concern. You're still in the early phase, which means there might be time to escape, but first you need supplies. You can't just run out the door with nothing. You need to be smart about this. You inventory what's in your apartment. Some canned food, not much, a few bottles of water, a first aid kit under the bathroom sink that you've never opened. You have a baseball bat in your closet, bought years ago with vague intentions of joining a recreational league that never materialized. That's your only potential weapon. You grab it, feel its weight in your hands. It's aluminum, light but sturdy. You've never hit anyone with a bat. You've never hit anyone with anything. The thought of violence makes your stomach clench, but the thought of being defenseless makes it clench harder. You put on practical clothes, jeans instead of the work pants you were going to wear, a long sleeve shirt, comfortable sneakers. You fill a backpack with the supplies you have, water bottles, canned food, the first aid kit, a flashlight, a knife from your kitchen. You're moving on instinct now, no longer thinking clearly, just reacting to the primal understanding that danger is present and escape is necessary. The hallway outside your apartment is empty. No neighbors emerging from their units, no sounds of activity. Either everyone else is staying inside or they've already left. You walk quickly to the elevator, press the button, wait. The machinery grinds and whirs. The numbers on the display count up. 7, 8. The doors open. There's someone inside. He's wearing what might have once been a security guard uniform, but is now torn and stained dark with something that might be blood. His face is gray, skin mottled with discoloration. His eyes are clouded, pupils dilated to the point where iris color is barely visible. His mouth hangs open, and you can see that his teeth are broken, jagged, and there's something wrong with the way he's standing. Not quite balanced, swaying slightly as though his body has forgotten how joints and muscles are supposed to work together. He sees you, or whatever remains of his awareness registers your presence. He moves toward you with lurching steps, hands reaching, that broken mouth opening wider. A sound comes out, something between a groan and a snarl, a vocalization that has no language in it, no humanity, just raw animal need. You don't think, you swing the bat. The aluminum connects with the side of his head with a hollow thunk that you feel reverberate up through your arms. He stumbles, but doesn't fall. doesn't stop moving toward you. You swing again, harder this time, and the impact is sickeningly solid. Something cracks. Could be his skull. Could be your bat. He goes down on his knees, still trying to grab at you, still making that terrible sound. You swing a third time, and he stops moving. You stand there breathing hard, the bat still raised, staring at what you just did. That was a person. That was someone who had a name and a job and a life. That was someone who woke up yesterday morning just like you did, thinking about ordinary things, not knowing what was coming. And now he's lying on the floor outside your apartment with his head caved in, and you're the one who did it. Except he wasn't a person anymore. Not really. That's what you tell yourself. That's what you have to tell yourself, because the alternative is that you just killed a man and that makes you a murderer, and you can't be a murderer because murderers are other people, bad people, not regular people with studio apartments and boring jobs and normal lives. The elevator is still open. You step inside, careful not to look at the body on the floor, and press the button for the ground level. The doors close. The elevator descends. You watch the numbers count down and try not to think about what's going to be waiting when those doors open again. The lobby is chaos. Not organized chaos, not manageable chaos, the kind of chaos that happens when a space designed for order becomes a space of panic. There are people running, people screaming, people struggling with other people who move with that same wrong lurching gait you saw in the security guard. Blood on the floor, blood on the walls. Someone's crying in a corner, rocking back and forth with their hands over their ears as if blocking out the sounds will make the situation less real. You don't try to help, you can't help. You can barely process what you're seeing. Your brain wants to reject this input as impossible, as some kind of elaborate prank or hallucination, but your eyes insist the information is accurate. This is real. This is happening. People are attacking each other with teeth and hands, tearing at flesh with animal ferocity. The ones doing the attacking don't look human anymore. Their faces are twisted into masks of mindless hunger, all individual identity erased, reduced to pure predatory instinct. You run for the exit. The glass doors are smashed, sharp fragments still hanging in the frames. You duck through carefully, the backpack catching slightly on a jagged edge, and emerge onto the street. The city is dying. That's the only way to describe what you see. Raccoon City is in the process of transforming from a place where people live into a place where people die. Cars are abandoned in the middle of streets, doors left open, engines still running. Bodies lie on the sidewalks. Some are motionless, some are twitching, some are moving with that terrible lurching walk, hunting for prey. In the distance, you can hear gunfire, not individual shots, but sustained automatic weapons fire, the kind that comes from military rifles. Someone is fighting back, someone with resources and training, but they're not here. They're somewhere else in the city, and you're alone on this street with nothing but a baseball bat and a backpack. A woman runs past you, her blouse torn, her arm bleeding. She doesn't look at you, doesn't acknowledge your existence. She's running from something, and running is the totality of her consciousness right now. 3 seconds later, you see what's chasing her. A group of them, 5 or 6, moving together like a pack. They don't coordinate in any intelligent way, but their hunger moves them in the same direction, and the effect is the same as coordination. They're faster than you expected. Not sprinting, but moving with steady, relentless momentum. You press yourself against the wall of your building, and they pass without noticing you. Or maybe they notice, but the woman is a closer target, and predators chase movement. Once they're far enough away, you move in the opposite direction. You don't have a destination. You just know you need to move, need to put distance between yourself and immediate danger. The street you're on is residential, mostly apartment buildings like yours. Every building has the same story playing out: people trapped inside, people trying to escape, people who didn't make it. You pass a man dragging himself along the ground with his arms, his legs useless behind him, his intestines trailing from a wound in his abdomen that should have killed him, but somehow hasn't. He sees you and reaches out with one hand, making a wet, gurgling sound that might be an attempt at words. You step around him and keep walking. What else can you do? You don't have medical training. You don't have supplies that could help someone with injuries that catastrophic. All you can do is keep moving and hope you don't end up in the same condition. You need to reach an evacuation point. The radio mentioned them. The television showed them. Official government organized locations where military personnel are gathering survivors and transporting them out of the quarantine zone. That's your goal. That's the only plan that makes sense. Get to an evacuation point. Get on a bus or truck or whatever vehicle they're using. Get out of Raccoon City before the situation deteriorates further. But where are these evacuation points? The broadcast didn't provide specific addresses. You weren't paying close enough attention when the information was given. And even if you knew the exact location, how do you get there? The city's infrastructure is collapsing. Street signs mean nothing when the streets themselves are impassable. Normal navigation rules don't apply when every route might be blocked by the dead or the undead. You keep walking, trying to move generally toward downtown where government buildings cluster and military presence is most likely to be concentrated. The familiar city has become an alien landscape. Places you've walked 100 times are now hostile territory. That corner store run by the Korean family has its windows smashed, interior dim, and you can see shapes moving inside. The check cashing place is burning, flames visible through those barred windows that were supposed to provide security, but now trap the heat and smoke. The vacant lot where band posters used to hang is occupied by a group of maybe 20 of those things, standing motionless like statues, until one of them detects something and they all start moving at once in the same direction. You hide when you need to hide, behind cars, inside doorways, once inside a dumpster, pressing yourself down among the garbage bags and trying not to breathe too loudly while something scrapes past outside. Time loses meaning. Could be noon, could be afternoon. The sun is somewhere overhead, but smoke from multiple fires obscures the sky, creates an artificial twilight that makes everything harder to see clearly. You encounter other survivors, not many. Most people are either dead or hiding or already evacuated, but occasionally you cross paths with someone else trying to navigate this nightmare. A teenage girl clutching a torn stuffed animal, her eyes vacant with shock. An elderly man moving carefully with a cane, somehow maintaining dignity even in disaster. A family, parents, and two children, moving as a unit with the father carrying a shotgun that he holds with the confidence of someone who knows how to use it. None of you speak. There's an understanding that conversation draws attention, and attention is dangerous. You acknowledge each other with eye contact, maybe a nod, and then continue in your separate directions. Everyone is alone even when physically near others. The social bonds that held Raccoon City together have dissolved. There's no community anymore, no mutual support, just individuals focused on personal survival. You find bodies, so many bodies, not the infected ones that walk around hunting, regular dead bodies, people who were killed by those things, people who killed themselves rather than face what was happening, people who died from injuries or heart attacks or strokes brought on by terror. Each body represents a life that ended. a story that terminated mid-sentence. Each one could be you in another timeline where you were slightly slower or less lucky, or made one wrong turn instead of one right turn. The Raccoon City Police Department building is visible in the distance, a solid presence that suggests authority and protection. But between you and that building is half a mile of open street teeming with the infected. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They fill the space like a horde, packed so densely that individual movement merges into a collective mass. You can't see a path through them, even if you could run fast enough, even if you could avoid being grabbed. There are too many. The mathematics of survival don't work. You change direction. Look for another route. The Kite Brothers railway station isn't far from here. Underground trains mean underground tunnels, and tunnels might provide a way to move through the city without being exposed at street level. It's not a great plan, but it's the only plan you have. The station entrance is down a set of concrete steps. The gate is open, forced off its sliding track by someone or something earlier. Inside is darkness. The lights that normally illuminate the platform are off. Power must be out in this section of the grid. You have your flashlight, but using it will announce your presence. You stand at the top of the stairs trying to decide if this is brave or stupid. A scream somewhere behind you makes the decision. Better the darkness than whatever just made someone scream like that. You descend into the station, feeling your way down the steps with one hand on the railing. The air gets cooler. That underground chill that's the same year round, regardless of surface weather. You can smell mildew and old grease and something else, something organic and wrong, decay. The platform is long and narrow with tracks running through the center. Advertising posters line the walls, partially visible in the dim light filtering down from street level. There's a movie poster for something called Biohazard 4 coming soon to theaters. There's an advertisement for Umbrella Pharmaceuticals featuring a smiling family and text about health and trust and innovation. There's a public service announcement about reporting suspicious activity to the police, the normal operation of civilization frozen in place while civilization itself falls apart. You hear sounds in the tunnel, movement, scraping, that distinctive groan that the infected make, that vocalization that exists somewhere between human and animal. They're down here too. Of course they're down here too. Why would underground be any safer than surface? The infected don't care about geography. They don't avoid certain areas. They just wander, hunting, and wandering takes them everywhere. You move along the platform as quietly as possible. The tracks drop down into the tunnel's mouth, disappearing into darkness. You could follow them, could walk through the subway tunnel to the next station, but that means putting yourself in an enclosed space with limited exits and zero visibility. That means trusting that nothing is already in there waiting. A hand grabs your ankle. You scream and swing the bat downward on pure instinct. The impact connects with something soft, and you hear a very human gasp of pain, not the groan of the infected, an actual human sound of suffering. You turn on your flashlight. There's a man on the ground, one of Raccoon City's homeless population, the invisible people who exist in the margins of society. He's clutching his shoulder where you hit him, his face twisted with pain, but also fear. Fear of you. He thought he was hidden in the shadows, thought he was safe. Then you came along and attacked him because you were scared and reactive and dangerous. You try to apologize, but words won't come. What do you say? Sorry I hit you with a bat. Sorry I nearly caved in your skull because you touched my ankle. Sorry the world has become a place where the natural response to human contact is violence. He waves you off. His eyes keep darting to the tunnel mouth. They're down there, he whispers. In the tunnels, dozens of them, maybe more. They got trapped when the train stopped running. Now they're just. He trails off. Doesn't need to finish the sentence. Is there a way through? You ask. He shakes his head. Not unless you can fight through them, and you can't. He looks at your bat, at your backpack, at you, assessing. Where are you trying to go? Evacuation point, downtown, somewhere the military is. Military isn't coming, he says. Not to help us anyway. They're containing. That's all. Keeping it from spreading. Everyone inside the containment zone is already written off. That's not true. But even as you say it, you're not sure. You want it to be untrue. You need it to be untrue. Because if he's right, if the military has decided everyone in Raccoon City is expendable, then there's no escape, no rescue, no hope of getting out alive. Police station, he says. That's where people are gathering, trying to anyway. RPD's got walls, got weapons, got supplies. Maybe they can hold out until someone decides to actually help instead of just watching us die. The police station, that solid building you saw earlier, the one surrounded by the infected horde. How do I get there? He gives you directions. Not through the streets, through buildings, through back alleys, through spaces that most people don't know exist because most people never had to sleep rough and learn the city's hidden geography. It's not a safe route. There's no such thing as a safe route anymore. But it's the best option you have. You thank him, ask if he's coming. He shakes his head, says he's got a spot, a place underground where he's been staying, says he'll take his chances there. You want to argue, but you don't. Everyone has the right to make their own choices about how they die. You leave the station, climbing back up to street level with the homeless man's directions playing through your mind like a mental map. The buildings he mentioned, the alley, the fire escape, the roof access, the bridge between buildings on the fourth floor that isn't an official bridge but a wooden plank that's been there for years, each step requiring precise navigation and more than a little luck. The first building is a condemned apartment complex, the kind of place that was supposed to be demolished years ago but hasn't been because of budget issues or bureaucratic delays or some combination of both. The front entrance is boarded over, but the homeless man told you about a basement window on the side that's been broken for months. You find it, a small opening barely large enough for a person to squeeze through. You go feet first, dropping into darkness, landing hard on concrete. The basement is flooded with about 3 inches of water. You can hear it dripping somewhere, a constant plink, plink, plink that echoes in the enclosed space. Your flashlight reveals a maze of support pillars and old storage units and scattered debris. Something scurries away from the light. Could be a rat, could be something worse. The infection spreads through animals too. Dogs mostly, but rats would make sense. Small, fast, able to reach anywhere humans can, and many places humans can't. You wade through the water to the stairs. The door at the top is unlocked because squatters have been using this building, and locks are pointless when you're not trying to keep people out. The ground floor is gutted, walls partially torn down, exposing the skeleton of the building's structure. Graffiti covers every available surface, tags from local crews, political statements, crude drawings, evidence of people trying to mark their existence on the world in whatever way they could. Movement upstairs. You freeze, listening. Footsteps, multiple sets, coming from the second floor, moving toward the stairs. You have seconds to decide. Hide or flee, fight or run. Every choice could be the one that kills you. You duck behind a partially demolished wall, pressing yourself into the corner, trying to make yourself small. The footsteps get louder. Then you see them descending, 3 of them. A man in a business suit that's torn and bloody. A woman in a hospital gown, her arms covered in IV marks and bruises. A child who can't be more than 10 years old, wearing a school uniform. all three moving with that same jerky gait, all three with that same clouded, empty expression. The child is what breaks you. You can rationalize the adults, can tell yourself they're gone, that whatever they were has been replaced by something else, that putting them down would be a mercy. But the child, that's someone's son or daughter, someone who has parents who loved them, who tucked them into bed at night and made them breakfast in the morning and worried about their grades and their friends and all the normal things parents worry about. That child had a future that stretched out for decades, a whole life that should have been lived. Now they're here in an abandoned building, stumbling around, hunting for human flesh, with all that potential erased. You don't move, don't breathe. The three of them pass within feet of where you're hiding. If they turn their heads even slightly, they'll see you. But they don't. They continue past, moving toward the basement stairs, following some signal or instinct that you can't perceive. Once they've descended and you hear them splashing through the flooded basement, you emerge from your hiding spot and move quickly to the stairs going up. The second floor is more intact than the ground floor. Apartment. Doors still hang in their frames, some open, some closed. You follow the homeless man's directions to the end of the hallway where a fire escape window is accessible. The window is stuck, painted shut years ago, but you work it back and forth until the seal breaks and it slides upward with a shriek of metal on metal that sounds deafeningly loud in the silence. The fire escape is rusty but solid. You climb up to the third floor, then the fourth, then the roof. The cityscape sprawls before you in all directions, and from this vantage point, the scale of the disaster becomes clear. Fires burning throughout downtown, military vehicles moving in organized columns along the major streets, helicopters circling overhead, and everywhere the infected, filling the streets like flood water, pouring through broken windows into buildings, an invasion force that emerged from inside the population itself. The police station is visible 3 blocks away. You can see its distinctive architecture, the stone facade and the large windows, and the RPD letters above the main entrance. You can also see the crowd of infected surrounding it, pressing against the doors and walls trying to get inside. But the building stands. The doors are holding. That means there are people inside, living people, survivors. The bridge between buildings is exactly where the homeless man said it would be. A wooden plank stretching from this rooftop to the next, maybe 8 feet long, suspended 4 stories above the alley below. No safety rails, no harness, just a piece of wood over empty space. You've never been good with heights, never liked being on roofs or ladders or anywhere that involved looking down and seeing distance between yourself and ground. But fear of heights is a luxury that belongs to the old world, the world before yesterday. In this new world, you cross the plank because the alternative is staying where you are, and staying anywhere for too long means death. Don't look down. That's the rule for crossing things like this. Fix your eyes on the destination and move with confidence, and absolutely do not look at the empty space beneath you. You step onto the plank. It flexes under your weight but holds. You take another step, another. The wind pushes at you gently, playfully, like it doesn't understand that a strong gust right now would mean falling. You're halfway across when you hear the groan behind you. One of them is on the roof you just left. You don't know where it came from. Maybe it followed you up the fire escape. Maybe it was already up here hiding somewhere. Doesn't matter. It sees you, starts moving toward the plank. You run, not carefully, not with measured steps, just raw panicked running. Your feet slip on the wood, but you catch yourself. 2 more steps, and you're across, crashing onto the opposite roof with bruising force that knocks the wind from your lungs. Behind you, the infected steps onto the plank. It doesn't have your fear of heights, doesn't have any fear at all. It walks with the same mindless confidence it would use on solid ground. The plank snaps under its weight, or maybe it was already weakened from your crossing. Either way, the result is the same. The wood breaks in the middle, and the infected tumbles down into the alley with a wet crunch that you don't see but hear clearly. You lie on the roof, breathing hard, staring at the sky, where smoke turns sunlight orange. You're alive, still alive. Despite everything, you're still drawing breath, still conscious, still capable of movement. This seems impossible and yet undeniable. The rest of the journey to the police station follows similar patterns. Building to building, roof to roof, sometimes across bridges of questionable stability, sometimes through windows into apartments where the occupants are either gone or dead or infected. You see things in those apartments, family photos on walls showing people who looked happy, children's toys scattered on floors, meals left half eaten on tables when emergency became crisis and crisis became catastrophe. You see a couple in one apartment sitting together on a couch, holding hands, both of them dead but not moving, not infected. Pills scattered on the floor suggest they made a choice, decided the outcome together, and took action before the decision was taken from them. Their faces are peaceful, no pain, no fear. Whatever comes after death, they're experiencing it together. You hope it's better than what they left behind. The final building before the police station is a parking garage. You enter through a pedestrian door on the fourth level and work your way down the vehicle ramps. Cars sit in their spaces covered in dust, abandoned when whatever emergency sent their owners running. Each level down brings you closer to street level where the infected congregate. You can hear them now, that collective groaning that comes from hundreds of throats, a sound like wind through a canyon made of flesh instead of stone. The ground level of the garage opens onto a street that runs directly to the police station's front entrance. It's maybe 100 yards. Between you and those doors is a solid mass of infected so dense that you can barely see the pavement beneath them. There's no way through, not on foot, not without getting torn apart. But there are cars here, vehicles that might still run if they have gas, and if their batteries aren't dead, and if the universe is willing to grant you this one piece of luck. You move between cars trying door handles. Most are locked. A few open, but have empty tanks, or are manual transmission, and you never learned stick shift. Then you find it. A pickup truck, keys in the ignition, quarter tank of gas, automatic transmission. You get in, turn the key. The engine turns over once, twice, catches. The sound seems impossibly loud, a roar that announces your presence to everything within hearing range. The infected turn toward the noise, start moving toward the garage entrance. You have seconds before they block your exit. You put the truck in gear and accelerate. The vehicle lurches forward with more speed than you intended. You adjust, gripping the wheel hard, aiming for the street. The first infected you hit makes a thump against the front bumper and disappears under the wheels. Then you're in the crowd, and it's like driving through heavy snow, except the snow is bodies, and the bodies don't move out of the way. They press against the truck from all sides. Hands slap at the windows. Faces appear in your peripheral vision, mouths open, teeth visible. The windshield cracks from repeated impact. Something grabs the side mirror and tears it off. You keep the accelerator pressed down. The truck plows through the horde with terrible momentum. Bodies pile up on the hood, obscuring your view. You steer by instinct and luck, praying you're still aimed at the police station entrance. The truck's front tire runs over something large, and the vehicle lurches to the side. You overcorrect, nearly lose control, somehow keep moving forward. Then suddenly, there's less resistance. You've broken through the worst of it. The police station entrance is right there, 20 feet, 10 feet. You aim for the doors and brake hard. The truck stops inches from the stone steps leading up to the entrance. You grab your backpack and bat and kick open the driver's door. Infected are already converging on the truck from all sides. You run up the steps. The police station doors are barricaded from inside, but there's a small opening, a space just wide enough for a person. Hands reach out, living human hands. They grab you and pull you through the gap, and you fall into the interior of the building as someone slams the barricade back in place behind you. You're inside. You made it. Against all odds and probability, you reached this sanctuary. You lie on the floor of the Raccoon City Police Department, gasping for breath while people move around you. Voices asking if you're injured, if you were bitten, if you're infected. You shake your head to all of it, just exhausted, just traumatized, just grateful to be somewhere with walls and weapons and other survivors. Someone helps you to your feet, a police officer. His uniform is torn and dirty, but he's still wearing his badge, still maintaining that core identity as a protector of public safety, even when public safety has become an impossible goal. He introduces himself. Officer Marvin Branna says you're safe here for now, that they have supplies, have ammunition, have a plan. You want to believe him, want to believe that inside these walls safety is real and the nightmare outside is contained. But you look around at the other survivors, maybe 30 people total, some injured, some in shock, all scared, and you think about the hundreds of infected pressing against the doors and windows. You think about the military's containment operation. You think about what the homeless man said, that everyone inside the zone has been written off. This isn't safety. This is a delay, a reprieve, a few more hours or maybe days before the inevitable outcome arrives. The police station is an island in a sea of death, and the sea is rising. Officer Branna takes you to what he calls the safe room, a large space in the station's center where survivors are gathered. There are camp beds set up, boxes of supplies, a first aid station where a civilian with some medical training is treating injuries. People sit or lie in small groups, talking in quiet voices or not talking at all, just existing in the shared trauma of survival. You find an empty corner and sit down with your back against the wall. Your body is shaking, adrenaline crash catching up with you. Everything that happened in the last few hours replays in your mind in broken fragments. The elevator, the body, the streets, the infected child, the rooftop crossing, the drive through the horde. Each memory feels simultaneously distant and immediate, like it happened years ago and seconds ago simultaneously. A woman sits down near you. She's maybe 40, wearing what might have been professional attire earlier, but is now rumpled and stained. She has a wedding ring. You notice these details automatically, your brain desperately trying to catalog normal human things in an abnormal situation. I saw you come in, she says. Her voice is hoarse. That was brave. Stupid, but brave. You don't feel brave. You feel lucky. There's a difference between courage and desperation, and what you did was entirely desperation. How long have you been here? You ask. Since yesterday afternoon. I was at work when it started. Downtown office building. Umbrella subsidiary, actually. She laughs bitterly. Ironic. Working for the company that caused this. Except, I didn't know they caused it. None of us knew. We thought we were just doing normal jobs. What happened at your building? Started on the ground floor. Security guard came in sick. No one thought anything of it at first. Just another employee calling in sick. Nothing unusual. Then he attacked the receptionist. Then the receptionist attacked someone else. Within an hour, the entire building was infected. I locked myself in a conference room on the 15th floor with two coworkers. We could hear them outside in the hallways, scratching at the door, making those sounds. How did you get out? Fire escape. Climbed down 15 floors with those things coming out of windows trying to grab us. One of my coworkers fell. He was right behind me 1 second, and then he just wasn't there anymore. I heard him hit, but I didn't look. Couldn't look. Just kept climbing. You don't know what to say to that. No words of comfort exist for experiences like hers. So you sit in silence together, two strangers bound by shared trauma. Officer Branna makes an announcement, says they're organizing a group to go to the station's underground parking area where a police vehicle is parked. If they can get the vehicle running, they might be able to evacuate some people, take them to whatever extraction points still exist. He needs volunteers, people who can handle weapons, people who are willing to risk going back outside the relative safety of the station. Several officers volunteer, a few civilians, including a man who claims to be military veterans. You consider it. Consider whether you have any useful skills to offer, but you're exhausted and scared, and you don't trust yourself not to freeze at a critical moment. Better to let people with training and experience handle it. The volunteer group gathers their equipment, guns and ammunition distributed from the station's armory, flashlights, radios. They look professional, organized, like maybe they can actually accomplish this mission. They leave through a side door, and you watch them disappear into the station's interior. Time passes, could be 30 minutes, could be an hour, hard to measure when every moment feels stretched by anxiety. Then you hear gunfire, not from outside, from inside the station, the underground areas. Sustained shooting, followed by screaming, followed by silence. Officer Brana runs toward the sounds with several other officers. The rest of you wait in the safe room, trying not to imagine what that gunfire means. The answer comes when Brana returns alone. His face is grim. The mission failed. The infected have gotten into the underground areas somehow. The volunteer group was ambushed. Most are dead. One or two might have escaped, but he doesn't know where. And now they're infected inside the station, moving through the maintenance tunnels and back corridors. The safe room isn't safe anymore. Nothing is safe. The walls you counted on for protection are compromised. The plan you hoped would lead to rescue has failed. You're trapped in a building that's being invaded from within. Branna makes another announcement. They need to evacuate to the second floor. Get everyone upstairs where they can defend a smaller perimeter. The stairs are narrow, easy to hold. They can barricade the upper level and wait for military extraction. Except, you know, and probably everyone else knows, that military extraction isn't coming. The government isn't sending soldiers to rescue survivors from a quarantine zone. They're maintaining the perimeter and waiting for the infection to run its course. Everyone inside Raccoon City is already dead in official planning. Just corpses that haven't stopped moving yet. But you don't say this, because what's the alternative? Give up? Lie down and wait for death? So you help move supplies upstairs. You help other survivors climb the stairs. An elderly man who can barely walk. A mother carrying a young child. People who would normally struggle with stairs even in good circumstances, now climbing them while exhausted and terrified. The second floor is less defensible than Branna suggested. Too many rooms, too many doors, too many windows. You can already hear the infected in the building below. That collective groaning that travels through the walls like a subsonic vibration. They're not intelligent, but they're persistent. They don't get tired, don't give up, just keep pushing forward, driven by endless hunger. You find a small office and close the door. It has a desk and a chair and a filing cabinet. There's a window, but it's too high up to jump from without breaking legs or worse. This room is a trap if things go wrong, but it's also a temporary refuge if things go right. You push the desk against the door. Not a real barricade, but something to slow intrusion. Then you sit in the chair and try to think, try to process, try to figure out if there's any path forward that doesn't end in death. The math is brutal. The entire city is infected or dead. The military has sealed the borders. The police station is overrun. You have a baseball bat and some canned food, and that's all. What possible sequence of actions leads from here to survival? You think about your apartment, your job, your mother calling this morning from 2 states away. That world is gone. Whatever comes next, even if you somehow survive, will be fundamentally different. You can't go back to serving coffee or stocking shelves or whatever your job was. Can't return to a studio apartment and alarm clocks and morning routines. That version of life has been permanently erased. You think about the people you've encountered, the security guard in the elevator who might have been your neighbor, the homeless man in the subway who gave you directions, the couple on the couch who chose peace over horror, the woman from the office building who watched her coworker fall. Each of them had full, complex lives with histories and relationships and dreams. Each of them will be reduced to statistics, if anyone bothers keeping statistics. Casualties in the Raccoon City incident, numbers in a report, footnotes in history books that maybe get written someday. You think about the infected child. That keeps coming back to you. The complete erasure of innocence and potential. The transformation of a human being into a predatory thing. It's one thing to accept that adults die. Adults understand mortality on some level. We know the world is dangerous, but children are supposed to be protected. That's the fundamental contract of civilization, that we shield the young from horror until they're old enough to confront it. Raccoon City has broken that contract so completely that the young have become the horror. Hours pass. Day transitions to night, though you only know because the light through the window dims and disappears. The sounds in the building continue. Footsteps, groaning, occasional gunfire as police officers somewhere in the station fight losing battles against an enemy that doesn't stop coming. The radio on the desk crackles sometimes with fragmented communications. Officers calling for backup that isn't available. Civilians begging for rescue that can't happen. All of it layered over the background hiss of empty channels. You sleep eventually, not intentionally. Your body simply shuts down from exhaustion despite everything. When you wake, it's dark and quiet, and you don't know what time it is or how long you were unconscious. The office is still sealed, the desk still against the door. But something has changed. The air smells different. Smoke. You go to the window and look out. The city is burning more extensively now. Fires have spread from individual buildings to entire blocks. The sky glows orange, reflecting flames. No fire trucks are responding. No one is fighting the blazes. Raccoon City is consuming itself. A sound at the door makes you turn. Not groaning, not that mindless hunger sound. Scratching, deliberate and rhythmic. Something is trying to get in, but doing so with a patience that suggests intelligence. You grab your bat and back away from the door. The desk starts to move. Something on the other side is pushing it, slowly, testing the resistance. Then the pushing stops. Footsteps retreat down the hall. You stand frozen, listening to the silence, wondering if it's really gone or just waiting. Minutes pass. Your grip on the bat makes your hands ache, but you don't relax. Can't relax. The window explodes inward. Something comes through in a shower of glass. Not the shambling infected you've encountered before. This is different, larger, faster, moving with purpose. You catch a glimpse of gray skin pulled tight over muscles, of clawed hands, of a face that's been warped into something inhuman. This is what happens when the infection takes someone with the right genetic markers. Not a shuffling zombie, but something worse. A hunter, a weapon. You swing the bat. The creature dodges with disturbing agility. It's between you and the door, between you and any possible exit. You're trapped in the corner with nowhere to go. This is how you die. This is the end of your story. A sequence of increasingly desperate choices that led to a small office on the second floor of the Raccoon City Police Department where a monster tears you apart. The creature lunges. You swing again and connect with its shoulder. The impact would shatter bone in a normal person, but this thing barely registers the hit. Claws rake across your arm, tearing through fabric and skin. The pain is immediate and intense, fire racing along nerve endings. You stumble backward, your spine hits the wall, and the creature is already coming at you again, with jaws open, revealing teeth that are too sharp, too many, too wrong. A gunshot. The creature's head snaps to the side and it staggers. Another shot and another. The creature drops. Behind it, Officer Branna stands in the doorway with a pistol, barrel smoking. He's wounded. You can see blood soaking through his uniform on the left side, but he's still fighting, still trying to protect people even as the station crumbles around him. We need to move, he says. Now. You follow him into the hallway where several other survivors are gathered. Maybe 10 people total, all that remains of the 30 who were here earlier. Branna leads you through the station, taking a route that avoids the main corridors where infected have gathered. He knows the building intimately, every room and passage and hidden access. This is his territory, even after it's been invaded. You emerge into the station's main hall, the large open space near the entrance. The barricades have failed. Infected are inside, dozens of them, milling around with that aimless quality they have when no prey is immediately visible. Branna signals for the group to stay low, to move quietly along the wall toward a side exit. You make it halfway before someone panics. A young man, maybe college age, breaks from the group and runs. The infected see the movement and react, all of them at once turning toward him like a wave responding to gravity. He makes it 3 steps before they reach him. You force yourself to look away as he screams. His distraction gives the rest of you a chance. Branna pushes the side door open, and you pour through into an alley behind the police station. The night air is thick with smoke and the smell of burning plastic. The alley is relatively clear of infected, but you can hear them in nearby streets. The sound is everywhere now, an atmospheric presence like wind or rain. Where do we go? Someone asks. Good question. The police station was supposed to be the sanctuary. That's failed. What's the backup plan when the backup plan fails? Hospital, Brana says. Raccoon General. They might have evacuated people from there. Might have set up a triage center. It's our best option. No one argues. When you're down to bad options, you take the least bad and hope for mercy. The group moves through back streets and alleys, staying off main thoroughfares where infected congregate in larger numbers. You're moving generally west toward the hospital. The route takes you through parts of Raccoon City you've never seen before. Industrial areas, warehouse districts, places where normal residents don't go because there's nothing there for them. You see evidence of how fast the collapse happened. Cars parked in loading docks, with the doors open and engines still running. Forklifts stopped in the middle of operations. Delivery trucks abandoned, with their cargo doors up, revealing contents that no one will ever deliver. The machinery of commerce frozen mid-action, when everyone simultaneously decided that survival was more important than work. A dog appears from between buildings, not infected, just a normal dog, a German shepherd with no collar, probably someone's pet before its owner died or fled. It sees the group and growls low in its throat. Dogs don't trust people anymore. They've seen what people turn into. The shepherd decides you're not worth the risk and runs off into the darkness. The hospital is visible ahead, a large blocky structure that takes up an entire city block. Lights are on in some windows, which seems like a good sign. Power means generators running, means someone alive to maintain them. But as you get closer, you see the same pattern as everywhere else: broken windows, blood on the exterior walls, bodies in the parking lot. The hospital was overwhelmed just like every other institution. The entrance doors are propped open. Inside is a scene of medical catastrophe. The lobby is filled with gurneys and wheelchairs and medical equipment. Patient files are scattered across the floor. A reception desk stands empty with a half-drunk cup of coffee next to a telephone that's off its hook. Everything suggests people working desperately and then suddenly abandoning their posts when the situation became untenable. Brana leads you deeper into the building, past examination rooms with doors hanging open revealing the wreckage inside, past surgical suites where operations were interrupted mid-procedure, past a cafeteria where food sits rotting on serving lines. The hospital feels enormous, a maze of corridors and departments, and every space is marked by the same evidence of collapse. You hear something in the walls, movement that shouldn't exist in walls, scratching and sliding sounds that suggest things crawling through the ventilation system. Brana holds up a hand signaling stop. Everyone freezes, listening. The sounds continue moving toward you, or maybe away from you, impossible to tell. Then they stop. A vent cover falls from the ceiling. Things pour out. Not infected humans. Something else. Long and segmented, dozens of legs moving with mechanical precision. Giant insects. Roaches, but mutated, grown to the size of dogs. They don't groan or moan. They just click mandibles together, making a sound like castanets played at high speed. Everyone scatters. The group fractures into individuals, all running in different directions. You lose sight of Brana, lose sight of everyone. You're alone again in the hospital corridors, with those things pursuing. You duck into a stairwell and take the stairs up two at a time. The roaches can't climb stairs as fast as you can run them. Small advantage, but any advantage is worth taking. The second floor seems quieter, less evidence of chaos. Some of the rooms still have their doors closed and lights off, suggesting they weren't affected when the initial outbreak occurred. You find a doctor's office and lock yourself inside. The space is small and professional. Diplomas on the wall, family photos on the desk, a computer that's still on, screen showing a medical records database. You sit in the doctor's chair, trying to catch your breath, trying to think. You've lost the group, lost Officer Brana. You're alone in a hospital that's been taken over by infection and mutation. The smart thing would be to hide here until morning, then try to escape the city somehow. But escape to where? The military has sealed the borders. Even if you got out of Raccoon City proper, you'd still be in the containment zone. The computer catches your attention. You're not supposed to access medical records, privacy laws, and ethics and all that. But those concerns belong to a civilization that no longer exists. You start searching the database randomly. Patient names and admission dates and diagnoses. Most recent entries are from 2 days ago. Multiple patients admitted with fever and aggression. Doctors couldn't identify the pathogen. They tried standard treatments, antibiotics, antivirals. Nothing worked. Within hours, patients were attacking staff. The entire hospital became an outbreak center. You find a file that's marked classified, Umbrella Corporation letterhead, a memo from someone named William Birkin addressed to hospital administration. The memo talks about a containment protocol. In the event of viral exposure, the hospital is to be evacuated immediately and all records destroyed. No information about the virus's nature or treatment is to be disseminated publicly. Staff are to follow emergency procedures and await further instructions from Umbrella representatives. So they knew, the corporation knew this could happen. They had protocols in place. They were prepared for outbreak scenarios, which means they understood the risk, which means they created the risk. Umbrella didn't just fail to prevent this catastrophe, they made it possible. They engineered the virus that's destroying Raccoon City. Whether they released it intentionally or through negligence doesn't matter. The result is the same. You print the memo. The printer is ancient and loud, mechanical grinding that fills the office. But you need physical evidence. Need something to prove what happened here if you somehow survive to tell anyone. The paper curls out, warm from the printer, and you fold it into your backpack. A sound at the door, the handle turning. You left it locked, but locks don't matter if someone has keys. The door opens and a woman in a lab coat enters. She's wearing glasses and her hair is pulled back in a bun. She looks exhausted but not infected. When she sees you, she stops, startled, then closes the door quickly behind her. "Who are you?" she asks, not hostile, just cautious. "Survivor. I'm trying to get out of the city." "Good luck with that." She moves to the desk and starts gathering papers from drawers, stuffing them into a messenger bag. They're not letting anyone out. Military has shoot-on-sight orders for anyone approaching the perimeter. "How do you know?" "I'm a researcher. Was a researcher. Umbrella funded my work on viral pathogens. When this started, I tried to reach the quarantine line to offer my expertise. They nearly killed me. Had to turn back." "What's the virus? What causes this?" She looks at you like you're an idiot. "T virus. Tyrant virus. Umbrella's biological weapon project. They've been developing it for decades. It was supposed to be controlled. Used in combat situations, not released in a civilian population center. So, how did it get released?" "Accident, I think. There was an incident at one of the underground laboratories. A doctor named Birkin was working on a new strain called G virus. Umbrella tried to seize it. There was a fight. T virus samples got broken, infected rats in the sewers. From there, it spread through the water system." She pauses, looking at her reflection in the window. Or maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe someone released it deliberately. At this point, does it matter? The result is the same. Is there a cure? Several. But you need access to laboratories and equipment and base materials, none of which exist in usable form anymore. The hospital here developed a vaccine. It was working, but Umbrella destroyed it, sent people to eliminate the evidence before anyone could mass produce treatment. Why would they do that? Corporate liability. Admitting they created the virus means admitting responsibility for tens of thousands of deaths. Easier to destroy evidence and claim it was a natural outbreak or terrorist attack or whatever lie they've chosen. She finishes gathering her materials and heads for the door. "I'm going to the Spencer Memorial. There's a laboratory there with equipment I can use. Maybe synthesize something that'll help. You should come. Safer in numbers." You don't have better options, so you follow her. She introduces herself as Dr. Jenkins. She's been working in Raccoon City for 5 years studying epidemiology. She thought she was helping develop vaccines for diseases. Didn't realize until 2 days ago that her research was being diverted into biological weapons development. Together, you navigate the hospital's maze, Dr. Jenkins leading with confidence that comes from familiarity. She knows which corridors to avoid, which stairwells are safest, which areas have been completely overrun. You make it to the ground floor without encountering infected, though you hear them constantly, always nearby, always hunting. The parking lot is more exposed. You have to cross open space to reach the vehicles. Dr. Jenkins has keys to a car, a sensible sedan that's parked in a staff area. You both run for it, not looking around because looking would mean seeing, and seeing would mean freezing. You reach the car and get inside, and she starts the engine, and you're moving before your door is fully closed. Infected appear from multiple directions converging on the vehicle. Dr. Jenkins doesn't slow down. She accelerates straight at them. The car hits bodies with sickening thumps. The windshield spiderwebs from an impact but doesn't break. You grip the door handle so hard your knuckles go white. This is insane. This is suicide. This is the only way forward. The car breaks through the crowd and onto the main road. Dr. Jenkins drives fast, weaving between abandoned vehicles, using the sidewalk when the street is blocked. She's been out here before. She knows the routes. The city scrolls past in nightmarish scenes. Buildings on fire, infected, wandering in groups, bodies lying where they fell. This is what the end of civilization looks like. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just sad and ugly and final. Spencer Memorial Hospital is on the edge of downtown. When you arrive, it looks more intact than Raccoon General. The doors are still closed. Windows are mostly unbroken. Dr. Jenkins pulls the car right up to the entrance, and you both run inside. The lobby is abandoned, but not destroyed. Someone took the time to lock doors and secure areas before evacuating. Dr. Jenkins uses her ID badge to access restricted areas. The elevator still works. You ride up to the fourth floor where the research laboratories are located. The lab is pristine, sterile white surfaces and stainless steel equipment, and that chemical smell that all medical facilities have. Dr. Jenkins immediately sets to work, pulling out samples and slides and materials whose purpose you don't understand. She works with focused intensity, talking to herself in technical language you can't follow. You stand by the window watching the city burn. From this height, Raccoon City looks small, finite. You can see the perimeter where military vehicles are stationed. You can see helicopters circling with searchlights. You can see the scope of destruction, and it's total. Nothing moves down there except the infected. They've won. They've consumed the entire city. How long until the military just bombs it all, you ask? Dr. Jenkins doesn't look up from her work. Probably already decided. They're just waiting for all the survivors to die naturally. Easier politically than ordering an airstrike on American citizens. Give it a few more days, and then they'll sterilize the site, wipe Raccoon City off the map. And us? We'll be dead by then, or infected. Or maybe I'll finish this vaccine and we'll have a chance. She holds up a vial filled with clear liquid. This might work, needs testing, needs time to synthesize properly, neither of which we have. A sound from down the hall, that familiar groaning. They've gotten into the hospital, into this floor. Dr. Jenkins keeps working, hands steady, despite the approaching danger. You grab your bat and position yourself by the lab door. Whatever comes through will have to go through you first. Minutes pass like hours. The groaning gets louder, footsteps approaching. You can smell them now, that rotting meat smell that the infected carry. Your hands are sweating on the bat's grip. Every muscle is tense. This is it. This is where you make your stand. The door opens. 3 of them come through. You swing the bat, hitting the first one in the head. It stumbles but doesn't fall. You swing again. Again. The bat connects with bone and flesh, making sounds that you'll hear in nightmares if you survive long enough to have nightmares. The second infected grabs your arm. You feel teeth sink into your forearm through your sleeve. The pain is instant and intense, white hot agony that makes you scream. Dr. Jenkins appears with a fire extinguisher. She swings it like a club, hitting the infected that bit you, driving it back. You fall to the ground, clutching your arm. Blood is seeping through the fabric. You've been bitten, you're infected. You have hours at most before the virus takes hold and you become one of them. Dr. Jenkins drags you back into the lab and slams the door. The infected pound on it from outside, but the door is heavy, designed to contain biological hazards. It holds. She examines your arm, cuts away the sleeve to see the wound clearly. The bite marks are deep, ragged, bleeding freely. The vaccine, you say. Does it work on someone who's already infected? I don't know. It's designed as a preventative. But theoretically, if administered early enough, it might stop the virus from fully taking hold. She retrieves the vial she was holding earlier. This isn't properly synthesized. It might kill you faster than the virus would. I'm dead anyway. Might as well try. She injects the vaccine into your arm near the bite wound. The liquid burns, going in, spreading through your bloodstream like fire. You pass out from the pain. When you wake up, you don't know how much time has passed. Could be minutes, could be hours. The lab is darker. The pounding on the door has stopped, though you can still hear infected in the building. Your arm is bandaged and throbbing, but you're conscious. You're thinking clearly. You're not driven by mindless hunger. Dr. Jenkins is sitting on the floor against a counter. She looks exhausted. You're awake. Good. I wasn't sure you'd make it. The vaccine worked? Too early to tell. You're not dead, and you're not zombified, so that's promising. But the virus has an incubation period. Could be you'll turn in an hour. Could be you're actually immune now. We need to monitor you for days to know for sure. Days we don't have. No, days we don't have. You sit up slowly. Your body feels wrong. Not infected wrong, just wrong. Like you've been poisoned and your cells are fighting each other. But you're still you, still capable of thought and choice and speech. That has to count for something. What now, you ask? Dr. Jenkins shakes her head. I don't know. I've been trying to think of a plan, a way out, but there isn't one. Even if we got out of this building, even if we made it through the streets, the military won't let us pass the perimeter. We're trapped. So we just wait here to die? What else is there? The question hangs in the air. What else is there indeed? You've fought so hard to survive, made it from your apartment to the police station to the hospital, watched people die, killed infected, been bitten and possibly cured. All of it just to end up trapped in a laboratory with no way forward. Then you remember something. The homeless man in the subway mentioned tunnels, the maintenance systems running under the city. If there are tunnels, there might be a way out, a route that goes under the military perimeter instead of through it. You tell Dr. Jenkins about this. She thinks for a moment, then nods slowly. The sewer system. It connects to the river. If we could reach the river, we might be able to float downstream past the quarantine zone. It's possible. Barely, but possible. It's the worst plan you've ever heard. Going into sewers that are likely filled with infected. Hoping to find a path to the river. Floating through contaminated water while wounded and possibly dying from viral infection. The odds of success are minuscule, but minuscule is better than zero. You gather what supplies exist in the lab. Dr. Jenkins takes samples of her vaccine in case you need more or in case you find other survivors. You fill bottles with water from the lab's purified supply. You find flashlights and batteries. It's not much, but it's something. The journey through Spencer Memorial to the basement is a gauntlet. The infected are everywhere now. You fight when you have to, run when you can. Dr. Jenkins proves surprisingly capable in a crisis. using whatever's available as a weapon: a metal tray, a fire extinguisher, a wheeled IV stand that she swings like a staff. The basement level contains maintenance access tunnels, narrow passages with exposed pipes and electrical conduits running along the walls and ceiling. You follow these tunnels deeper, away from the hospital, toward the sewer system that Dr. Jenkins says connects to all major buildings downtown. The smell gets worse as you descend. That sewage smell combined with death and chemical contamination. You're wading through ankle-deep water that you try not to think about. The walls are slick with something that might be algae or might be biological contamination. Your flashlight beam doesn't penetrate very far into the darkness ahead. You find bodies, not infected, just dead. People who fled down here looking for safety and found none. Some appear to have died from injuries, some from drowning in contaminated water, some from causes you can't identify and don't want to speculate about. You step over them or around them, trying not to disturb what remains. The tunnel branches. Dr. Jenkins consults a maintenance map she found at the hospital. The route to the river is northeast. That means taking the left branch. You follow it deeper into the subterranean maze. Something moves in the water behind you. Not infected. Something else. You catch a glimpse of something large and pale with too many legs. The mutation isn't limited to humans. Whatever the T virus does to biological systems, it affects all life. The sewers have become an ecosystem of horrors. You move faster. The tunnel widens into a larger chamber where multiple passages converge. There's more space here, but also more contamination. The water is higher, up to your knees, and its surface has an oily sheen that reflects your flashlight in rainbow colors. Chemical pollution mixing with biological threats, creating an environment hostile to all life. Across the chamber, you can see another tunnel entrance. That's the route you need. But between you and it, the water moves, shapes beneath the surface. Many of them. Whatever mutated things live down here, they're congregating. You don't have a choice. You wade forward, trying to move steadily without splashing, trying not to draw attention. The water is cold and thick, and it pulls at your legs with every step. Something brushes against your calf. You keep moving. Don't react. Don't look down. You're halfway across when Dr. Jenkins screams. Something has grabbed her leg. She falls into the water, thrashing. You turn back, grab her arm, pull her up. She's panicking, trying to climb onto you to get out of the water. You drag her toward the tunnel entrance while things beneath the surface converge on the disturbance. You reach the tunnel and pull Dr. Jenkins up onto the slightly elevated floor. Her pants are torn. There are marks on her leg that look like burns. Whatever touched her secreted something acidic. She's sobbing, overwhelmed by terror and pain. You bandage her leg with what remains of your first aid supplies. The materials are inadequate, but they'll have to do. The tunnel continues. You support Dr. Jenkins as she limps forward. Your own injury is throbbing, your arm feeling hot and swollen despite the vaccine. Both of you are running on willpower alone. Your bodies want to quit, want to lie down and accept whatever comes. But you keep moving because stopping means death, and death means everything that happened was meaningless. You hear water ahead, not sewer water, different, rushing water, the river. You emerge from the tunnel into a larger space where the circular river flows through a channel carved by nature and modified by human engineering. Moonlight filters in from somewhere above, revealing the scope of the space. It's beautiful in a way. Underground cathedral dedicated to the flow of water. There's a boat, not a proper boat, more like a maintenance raft used by sewer workers. But it floats, and that's all you need. You help Dr. Jenkins onto it, untie the mooring ropes. Use a pole to push off from the edge. The current catches the raft and carries it downstream. For the first time in what feels like days, you're not actively running or fighting. You're just moving with the water, floating through darkness toward an uncertain destination. Dr. Jenkins lies on the raft staring at the ceiling. You sit and watch the tunnel walls slide past. The river takes you under the city, under streets where infected hunt, under buildings where survivors hide, under the perimeter where military vehicles maintain their blockade. You're passing beneath all of it, invisible, carried by currents that don't care about quarantines or viruses or human catastrophe. Time passes. The tunnel seems endless. You wonder if you'll float forever, drift through underground waterways until you starve, or the raft falls apart, or some mutated thing pulls you under. But then you see light ahead, real light, not artificial, daylight. The tunnel mouth opens onto the river outside city limits. The circular river flows through the forest surrounding Raccoon City. You emerge into morning air that smells clean. No smoke, no death, no infection. The contrast is so extreme it feels unreal. You guide the raft to the shore. Help Dr. Jenkins climb onto solid ground. Both of you lie on the bank staring at the sky. You made it. Against all probability and logic, you survived. You're outside the quarantine zone, free. But as you lie there, you hear helicopters. Military patrol. They'll find you, question you, maybe quarantine you anyway because you were exposed, maybe shoot you because orders are to contain all possible infection vectors. You don't know what comes next, can't predict how this ends. Dr. Jenkins sits up. We need to hide, get away from the river before patrol spots us. You stand on shaking legs. Your body is on the edge of complete failure, but you've come too far to give up now. You help Dr. Jenkins to her feet, and together you walk into the forest, away from the river, away from Raccoon City, into the trees where morning sun filters through leaves, and for just a moment everything seems almost normal. You don't know if you'll truly survive, don't know if the vaccine will hold, or if infection will claim you hours from now. Don't know if the military will find you and consider you a threat. Don't know if the government will acknowledge what happened or cover it up. Don't know anything except that in this moment you're alive and breathing, and that has to be enough. Behind you, Raccoon City continues its death. The fires burn, the infected hunt. The military maintains its perimeter. 100,000 people lived in that city 2 days ago. Normal people with normal lives who didn't deserve what happened to them. They woke up expecting ordinary days. They got horror instead. You survived, for now, but survival isn't the same as living. The weight of what you've seen will stay with you forever. The faces of the infected who were once people, the bodies you stepped over, the choices you made to save yourself while others died. All of it permanent scars on your psyche. This is what it meant to be a resident of Raccoon City in September 1998, to be ordinary and powerless in the face of catastrophe, to watch the world you knew transform into nightmare, to fight desperately just to see one more sunrise, to understand that sometimes there are no good choices, only choices that delay the inevitable. You keep walking into the forest, Dr. Jenkins beside you, the sound of the river fading behind you. Whatever comes next will come. For now, you're here. You're breathing. You survived the horrifying life of a resident in Raccoon City. That will have to be enough.